Yo, what is up, guys? What is poppin'? We are back on Pokemon Showdown for NPL Week 6 versus Aaron 2420 and his Minnesota Miniors. Aaron is a good guy, a good friend of mine. Um, Definitely improved since last season. I think he has a winning record at the moment, so definitely gonna be an interesting game. You see, he has a Sand offense as well as Ember, Flawless, Vapor, and Hydreigon. Pretty much what I expected, even though I was very surprised to not see the Meloetta because Specs Meloetta just shits on me. I don't have a switch in for that. So yeah, that's like pretty good not to see. In my opinion, I built a very good team. You might say it's close to perfect for this matchup. I built brought physically defensive, rest, rain dance, toxic, Scald, Manaphy, which basically completely shuts down his rain offense and beats, looking at the squad, every mon besides Hydreigon 1 versus 1. Um, with rain I can basically always come in on Hippowdon, set up the rain to stop Excadrill from sweeping me, or from like just being faster than my entire team, which is super hype. Like Sand should not be up for um, more than a couple turns during this battle, which is really good for me. I brought Specs Greninja with Hydro Pump, Dark Pulse, Water Shuriken, and Spikes. As you see, my opponent did bring Hazard Removal only in form of the Excadrill, which like just doesn't get many opportunities to spin because everything I have on the squad, besides Togekiss, can hit him for super effective damage, which is very nice. Obviously, Serp can't, but plus to Leaf Storm, for example, just knocks the shit out of Excadrill. Superior is Subseed set with Leaf Storm and Dragon Pulse. Subseed is really good versus team. Just shuts down Vaporeon if I can come in, not get Scald burned. I can like scout for whatever a potential bandit Ember wants to lock himself into. If he switches hard into my Superior, I get like a lot of health back with the Leech Seed, so that's kind of cool. Shuts down Hippowdon and can beat stuff like Flawless 1 vs 1, especially if I get screens up. I brought dual screens, Togekiss with Roost and Air Slash. Wasn't quite sure about like this one. I contemplated a lot of options on there. I contemplated Skuntank for like to pursue Trap Meloetta, for example. But I felt Togekiss gives me a nice switch into Hydreigon, which I otherwise would have lacked. Stunfisk here is a Spadef variant with Earth Power, Stealth Rock, Toxic, and Scald. Scald just to hit a potential Air Balloon Excadrill on the switcher, because Air Balloon Excadrill is actually pretty solid versus Stunfisk, because most of the time you just see dual step on there, plus Toxic, plus Rock, so basically Air Balloon Excadrill would always give my opponent a free spin, which I don't really want. So I could potentially fish for the Scalp, and especially with Rain up, it's a guaranteed 2 KO on Excadrill and Hippowdon, which is nice. Then we got Trick Room Reuniclus with Psychic, Focus Blast, Recover, obviously holding the leftovers, no, not leftovers, the Life Orb. I have enough investment to live stuff like Scarf, Hydreigon's, Dark Pulse from full and shit like that, so that's kind of cool. I contemplated a lot if I should go Psychic or Psy Shock. I felt like um, Psychic works better because he should, in my opinion, bring a physically defensive Vaporeon, because um, I have a Zard X on my team, and Zard X, yes, he has a Hippowdon for that, but Hippowdon like just always invites a Manaphy, and Manaphy is like, as I look at if you look at his team, super hard to beat for him. Like I just stall everything out of aromatherapies if I want. Like he obviously will bring either aromatherapy Flawless or Heal by Vaporeon, and then like Zard X can go in, especially if I get a Toxic off on Hippowdon with my Stunfisk, for example, and he is like forced to, or force him not to heal by or aromatherapy, then like Hippowdon isn't a Zard X switching anymore. Obviously, it can always take a hit, but um, you should have a backup check, like a physically defensive Vaporeon that can just raw me out, face me around with Rocks up. As you see, I didn't bring Hazard Removal, but obviously I also didn't bring that, so that's that's kind of fine. This battle, you will see that I'm like will probably get very frustrated during this live com, because the last week we lost an unlosable match due to some really obscure RNG against us. It has been like a very like common theme for me in the NPL. Out of my last 10 losses in the last 2.5 seasons or something in the NPL, I think only one versus Sebast last season was a match that hasn't have deciding hacks against me. So like it has been kind of frustrating this game. Like you will see, I get hacks pretty badly. I'm not saying that I lose the game because of that, but it's definitely been a frustrating game and a frustrating 2 seasons like right now for me, because like I feel like I always prep really well and I always like play really well too, but sometimes like just RNG says fuck you in my face in my face, and then like I'm kind of screwed. So we go right into the battle and we see how it goes. I decided to lead off with my Greninja because it beats his sand lead potentially, and I can just versus stuff like Vaporeon or not Flawless, but stuff like Vaporeon, I can get up a spike as well as if he decides to lead with Hippowdon or Excadrill, I can always get up a spike because like you wouldn't like want to risk you wouldn't want to risk me going for Hydro Pump and knock you out on the first turn. And Vaporeon probably can't touch my Greninja, so going for going for spikes on the first turn could have been really nice. He leads off with his Ember, and only reason to lead with Ember would be if you are Scarfed. But Scarf Ember like doesn't match up too well versus Greninja, because if I'm Specs Water Shuriken, I can knock him out with 3 hits or more, and like if I'm Scarfed myself, I can just go for the Scalp and get a kill on the Ember. So I felt like he was kinda needed to switch. But I also wanted to cover every option, because I can't go for spikes or dark pulls in front of an Ember, and like Greninja just invites in Vaporeon or Flawless if it's especially defensive. So I'm kind of like forced to switch out as well. And I'm trying to cover every option here. If he stays in, he will either go for Superpower or what's it called, or Wild Charge. And like if he's Scarf, he can't Suit KO my Reuniclus with either of those. And Reuniclus also doesn't match up too badly versus Flawless and Vaporeon if they want to come in. So it was like an all-around solid play on my part, I guess. Even though like spikes would have been really nice to pressure his switches. Flawless here versus Reuniclus. I kinda contemplated gauging the damage that I that I can get on it, but didn't really feel too necessary, because like it's a solid win con in the end if I get my layers up and weaken stuff like Vaporeon and Flawless to a certain amount where Psychic can OHKO after the hazard damage. Then like Reuniclus becomes a very threatening win con after the what's it called, after I set up the Trick Room. So I go into my Togekiss to set up my screens. My opponent doesn't have a default, and he makes like an interesting play going for Protect, maybe expecting me to potentially have a trick Togekiss, because I obviously didn't reveal leftovers on this turn. But it's a pretty smart play, obviously, but that allows me to get up both of my screens already as my opponent goes into Vaporeon. I know he will come in to try and Toxic me, so I go into my Reuniclus as a pivot, knowing that like knowing that I can potentially like just take the Toxic, not take any damage, and then go from there into my Vaporeon. This turn is pretty interesting, and I think my opponent kinda like, I wouldn't say choked there, but he made a very interesting play and stayed in to go for Scald. If I were a Calm Mind Reuniclus, I basically won right here. If I'm Calm Mind, Psychic, HP Fighting, or Focus Blast, I literally won the game already. Because this Vaporeon reveals later to be Wish, Protect, Toxic, and Scald. It can't touch my Reuniclus. So if I had I been a Reuniclus that wants to set up Calm Mind, I probably would have won the game 6-0 in the next 20-25 turns, unless I obviously get hexed by Specs or Scarf Dark Pulse from Hydrangea. Because even if Ember wants to come into click Flabless, I can just spam recover to a point where he knocks himself out with the Flabless recall, and then like I beat everything 1v1. The Powder, unless it has Whirlwind, can't stop me. So if I go to +1 on the Scald, go to +2 on the next turn, I could potentially knock him out if he's a physically defensive variant, if I had invested correctly. But obviously, like I'm not a Calm Mind variant, so that's like kind of redundant to say. But it's definitely that my opponent, in my opinion, should have kept in mind. So I decided to go into my Serpera here because it covers basically every play he wanted to make, because I didn't feel like he wanted to go hard into Ember, and like you don't want to go hard into Hydreigon either, because you can always like get Focus Blast the fuck out of you. So I figured Superior is a pretty safe play, and my opponent goes for the Scald. And turn 6 of the game, first Scald gets the burn, which is really unfortunate because leftovers on Superior are kind of like necessary to like get get some health back even with Sand up, so that I don't like lose my health every turn. And now lefties are negated and I can't like recover up at all. Like, so I have to play very mindfully with my substitutes and my leech seed to get some recovery back. But I'm in a very solid spot now with the Serb. I can just sub up on this turn or just fire off a leech seed. I go for the leech seed here, which is a pretty probably wasn't the play. I probably should have subbed up because like if he wants to switch out into Hydreigon and or Ember, I could have just like seen what they want to lock themselves into. At this point, I'm already convinced this is Scarf Ember. That might be a choice locked Hydreigon. Otherwise, it would probably reveal Life Orb or wouldn't even come in on my Superior because +2 Leaf Storm into Dragon Pulse would obviously knock out any form of any variant of Hydreigon. So my opponent protects again, which I don't know if it's the best play because I revealed the leftovers, which kind of screams that I potentially am the substitute set, but it's whatever. Like, had I gone for the sub here, I would have been in a very, very good spot because then I could have gotten the leech seed off on his switch to Ember and hit him with a big Leaf Storm to potentially like get one more round of leech seed off and get some big damage off on Ember. I just go for the leech seed here because I want like Superior to be pretty healthy to take on stuff like Vaporeon and potentially break his team mid to late game. So he locks himself into Flare Blitz, that's fine. I can just go into my Mana Fee, set up the Rain or fire off a Toxic, whatever I want to go for. He gets a crit through the Reflect. You might say that's like unnecessary because I will rest up later and shit like that, but he did 35% instead of 10%, which is like pretty annoying. I much rather would have been at full because now a Specs Draco or Life of Draco from Hydreigon actually could knock me out with a crit through the Reflect or something. Or like when the light screen wears off on the next turn. So I much rather would have been at 100%, but it's fine. I can go into my Stunfisk here as a pivot, trying to see what he wants to lock himself into. I didn't want to go hard into Togekiss because he might read that and go for a Z Flash Scan or something to knock me out. I much rather want to scout for a set with one of my least useful mons from the Stunfisk, because like Stunfisk all it does is setting up rocks for me potentially once or twice and act as a pivot into potential like Hydreigon or Ember if it decides to lock itself into Wild Charge or something. So now I have kind of free rocks because it is a -2. It reveals to be probably timid damage and like probably Scarf, so it's kind of interesting. Go for my rocks here as Flawless comes in, and I think I fire off a Toxic here because I don't lose much by it. He goes for the Aromatherapy to like heal the Hydreigon from its Toxic, but I can just potentially spam Toxic here because like I want to like stall him out of Aromatherapy. So now that I know what his Cleric is, I like can play the game that way that I get him out of Aromatherapies pretty fast if I just spam Toxic. Rocks up, which is also nice because like Excadrill is either forced to spin or I always have to chip damage on monsters that want to come in. He gets a crit with the Moonblast and a special attack drop, which is pretty unfortunate, as I go for a Scalty, predicting maybe Excadrill to come in. Kind of bad that I revealed it too early, but it's fine. Like I don't lose too much by it. Stunfisk here, obviously gotta switch out at some point as my opponent goes for another Aromatherapy, so he has 6 left, which is nice. Go to my Togekiss again, as my opponent wishes, probably tries to wish up the Ember or just get a free switch, and that's fine. Can set up the Reflect and then go for the Air Slash, trying to flinch something down. I think I go for 1 flinch here in order to like condition him into thinking that I try to flinch his Hippowdon down, but I obviously don't want to do it, but because like if he like realized that I if I really go for Air Slash after Air Slash, he is very free switching to Excadrill, and I don't want him to like get that. So I go for 1 flinch and then I switch out into my Mana Fee to set up the Rain. I feel like now he's very inclined to stay in because he wants his Hippowdon at a solid amount of health. So he gets up his rocks, so he doesn't even slack off, which I don't know if I agree with that because I don't think Rock's Ice important is an important Hippowdon, because Hippowdon can always whirlwind out a potential Carmen Ridiculous if it really comes down to that. So yeah, kind of interesting to see that he like leaves his opponent low. In my opinion, like a wall like opponent should always be at a very comfortable amount of health, but definitely worked out in his favor as he gets up his rocks. So I can set up the rain here. Pretty easy for me. Like Sense and Vaporeon doesn't know my set yet, but now I can set up the rain, just spam Toxic. Like I don't lose anything by going for Toxic. He goes for Protect to waste a turn of Rain and Reflect. That's fine. I can just go for even more Toxics and try to stall him out of every heal or aromatherapy that he has. As you see, he just goes for the Wish, trying to like wish something back up, probably his Hydreigon or something. So I think I go for either a Scald or another Toxic. Go for another Toxic, predicting him to potentially have the heal bar as well on his Vaporeon, or to have like, or to go like into Hydreigon, for example, to Revenge King. I can just fire off a Scald to get some chip damage up, force him to wish up and like waste some turns. I can just spam Toxic to stall him out of aromatherapies. I'm pretty dragged out part of the game, but looking at his team, like he can't beat Manaphy at all, especially with Rain up. He's forced to go for another aromatherapy, so he has 4 left. And like once I get rid of all aromatherapies, I'm guaranteed to win this game with Manaphy, besides some like crits, or besides like Hydreigon going wild and me sacking my Manaphy mindlessly to some Dracos or something. So things are looking very good for me. Looking at this team, like nothing can like nothing can touch Manaphy or beat it at all. Like Vaporeon can only Toxic and Scald me, doesn't do shit. Flawless can hope for special attack drops with the Moonblast and force me to rest up, but I always like can play it that way, that I rest up on my last turn of Rain, then reset the Rain and like be at a solid amount of health anyway, and like just stall out the Flawless with the Toxic once its aromatherapies are gone, and with like forcing him to wish up too many times. So Flawless Wish comes through. I think I go for another Toxic here, just to force him to go for aromatherapy, as he has a Moonblast now. That's 31%, so it doesn't do shit to me. Get like the lefties back in the Rain, and like Manaphy looking clean. I can just fire off another Scald, do some more 30% as he goes for his 5th aromatherapy, and things are looking clean. So I'm like pretty happy, despite like some crits through Reflects and Light Screen and whatever. I'm like at a solid position. So Manaphy like here forces him to wish again, go for Protect. I gotta be mindful obviously of my PP on Scald and Toxic, but I think like I can guaranteed win the game by um, forcing him to like go for aromatherapy and shit. Hydreigon comes in as I set up the Rain again, and now I will go hard into my Togekiss, because I know he's forced to Draco kinda, because like what else is this play? Like he can't really beat my Manaphy otherwise. Like he's always, when Hydreigon comes in on Manaphy, he is always forced to Draco basically, which is good for me. Now I have a free roost with my Togekiss as he brings in a Hippowdon. Sets up the Sand, which is fine with me. I go for the softball, obviously don't have the roost. Now I think I go for a screen instead of no, I switch out. It's not the turn that I decide to make a switch or anything. My opponent goes for the Slack off. I didn't want to go for Air Slash again, because like I'm not a guy who mindlessly flinches down stuff. And even if I like if I flinch down Hippowdon here, my opponent still has turns of Sand left, which would mean that he gets at least 1 kill, because I don't have a hard counter for Excadrill. Even Manaphy's 2 KO'd with if it's a life of Driller, so I gotta be mindful of that. And Manaphy like always can come in on this Hippowdon and set up the Rain for me, which is hype. So go for the Rain Dance again as he whirlwinds me out. Totally fine with me. Sapira gets rid out, which is good for which is really good for me. Like Sapira is in a very solid spot here against this Hippowdon. I think I go for a sub now, or for the Leech Seed. I'm not quite sure. No, I'll go for this Seed like on the first turn here, and like Hydreigon comes in. Not too bad for me. Like obviously Draco and Dark Pulse will do quite a lot, but they won't knock me out. But like obviously I don't want my Surf um, to get weakened here. I go into my Stunfisk predicting him to go for the Flash Cannon, because like I showed that what's called that Togekiss is my initial switch in, and like Stunfisk would really enjoy taking only the Flash Cannon damage plus and get lefties plus Leech Seed back. So that works out for me as I like get back to what to my 50% where I was at, and now I have a free attack here. I think I go for Toxic just to like again force him to start, force him to go for aromatherapies as the powder comes in. So um, he makes the double into Excadrill on my switch to Manaphy, which is like now it's an interesting turn because 40 games in and Excadrill finally hits the field with Sand Arbor. I mean, finally made the play, and I think like now that he brought it in, he will guarantee go for Earthquake. There's like no other play he has, but I obviously can't go like just hard and mindlessly into Togekiss because Togekiss just gets dropped by by the Iron Head, and I don't want to pivot out all the time on the Iron Heads into one of my water types to potentially like stall him out of sand. So Manaphy is in. I'm at a very comfortable amount of health. I know I take only 53% max from this Earthquake, and I can go for the Scald and Fish for a burn. Even if I like don't get the burn, I weaken this Excadrill and can sack my Stunfisk on the next turn because the least useful member on the squad that I can like just go into on the second Earthquake he wants to go for, and then like come in with Greninja and fire off the Water Shuriken, go into Reuniclus to fire off a Psychic to knock it out or whatever. Like I'm very free to just Scalty because even if he gets the 50% off, I'm at like 25%, and I can always come in hard on Vaporeon and like rest up, even if I don't get the rain up before that. I can just rest up, waste the sleep turn directly in front of the Vaporeon, and always come in on the Hippowdon, waste the sleep turn, always can come in on the Florist, waste the sleep turn, and then just set up the rain, rest up again to be like full amount of health again and awake obviously. So staying in with Manaphy, 100% my play here. I go for the Scald as my opponent goes for the Earthquake here as expected, and it gets a crit. Yeah, if you haven't noticed yet, Manaphy is my win condition. I get the burn on the Scald, which is kind of meaningless because Greninja always comes in and revenges, but Manaphy goes down. Manaphy is my win condition in this game, and like now things are looking really bad. I had him at 2 or 3 aromatherapies, had like another toxic user in the back with Stunfisk, and now like Manaphy is gone. I just like mentioned that I can always rest up on Vaporeon and Flawless potentially. Also the Hippo because EQ, like if I like play it correctly and go like into Togekiss first and then like into Manaphy because then can't go for EQ or anything, and like get a free rest off again, and yeah, I can like go from there. But now Manaphy is down, and like I still can win this game, but it's like much harder now obviously. I go to my Reuniclus here just to knock him out with the Psychic. I know I don't take much damage from the Earthquake, and he just rapid spins, sacking his Excadrill. It's basically did its job. Like you probably want to say it's the MVP of the game by just getting rid of Manaphy. Really frustrating crit. Just like last week where Manaphy got confused on a Hurricane and hit itself when it just went for rest to go back up to full. This time we are getting crit, which was like really. I was like, when it happened during the game, I was like, why the fuck does that always happen to me? Like I have a flawless Mon versus this team, like a Mon that 6-0s entirely, even if it's like through a like toxic stally tactic, but like it's a Mon that like just wins, and now I'm forced to play really carefully around his threats, and like now it's really hard for me to win the game as well. Flawless comes in, can potentially just aromatherapy as I go into my Stunfisk, try to get up my my rocks back up, and spam some toxic on him. He goes for more Moonblast here, which is fine. I get on my rocks, which is like all I needed, and I think I will save my Stunfisk as death fodder here, because like now I need a lot of pivots into Hydreigon and Ember because I don't want them to like do a lot of damage. Moonblast gets a special attack drop, which would actually matters if I decided to flinch him down, which is really stupid. Now obviously I can't set up my screens back up, but yeah, like I'm kind of forced to like switch out again with my Togekiss once I softball, and that just wastes turns of screens, which is unfortunate. Moonblast here gets another special attack drop now, like my Aspis would be like 7% or something, and she goes into Vaporeon. Go for the Light Screen now. I think I go hard into my Reuniclus or my Superior. I think it's into Surf. Yeah, that makes the most sense. As my opponent just wishes up again. You can go for a sub now. I'm very free to do that. But like he went for the wish and now has a free wish into his Ember as I decide to sub up, and he gets completely back up to full, which is unfortunate, but I can go for the leech seed to get some health back, to get some chip on him, to see what he wants to lock himself into. After this leech seed here, I contemplated like staying in and go for a sub, predicting him to switch out, but I felt like it was way too risky because Superior at this moment was my win con 100%, alongside the Green Ninja. Goes for the Flare Blitz, 32 behind the Reflect, which is a lot, but I get a lot of stuff, a lot of health back, as I'm like now I'm able to spike up versus the Vaporeon. I think I go for another layer, because I'm still behind the light screen and my opponent all I can do is like just Scald and like, potentially burn me. It doesn't burn me, thankfully. Now I will go into my Reuniclus because I think he will try to go for Toxic on my third layer. But all these layers are pretty helpful to whittle down Vaporeon and Hippowdon, as well as the Ammo anti-Flogger. So Reuniclus comes in, I go for Trick Room here because like now I can potentially 2-carry his entire team depending on his sets. He goes for Protect, and now on his next turn he will take the Psychic, and it does 36%. So this is a max specially defensive Vaporeon, which I really didn't expect. I didn't see like the purpose of it, just besides maybe walling Green Ninja, but could have done that with like a physically defensive Vaporeon that like has some investment in special defense anyway. So he gets the Wish Pass into his Hydreigon. I was really close to Focus Blasting there, but couldn't do it. Now I will again play it safe, go for the Focus Blast as he goes into his Ember, sacking it, which is fair play. You can't like risk anything versus this Reuniclus. And like if I get special attack drops of Vaporeon, he's in a very bad spot because like with the spikes up, obviously, and the Stealth Rock, I'm 100% like beating that if he gets a special attack drop. I have to sack my Stunfisk here to the Hydreigon. I contemplated like just staying in and go for the Focus Blast because I know I live any one hit from this Hydreigon. I can always recover potentially up on the Vaporeon depending on what kind of roll he gets. If he only gets like 75%, I'm never O-code by Scald from this range, so I can like just recover up on a free switch. But things are obviously looking bleak. I have to softball up, but I still can win even without my Manaphy around. I can still win. If I get the flinch on this Vaporeon with the Air Slash, I basically probably win the game because then so a Green Ninja is free to fire off Hydro Pumps, and Specs Hydro Pump will 2-KO Flawless after the hazards 100% from full. It does a fuck ton to Hydreigon too. It does like 35%, which is really a lot, and I'm like I can always sack Superior, for example, or switch into Togekiss. So if I get the flinch here, I pretty much have a very solid chance of winning the game. But I missed the flinch, and my opponent gets the Toxic. Missed the acid, and my opponent gets the Toxic off. I'm not saying I would have gotten the flinch, but obviously 60% in my favor, and like then it's 10% or 5% to miss the Air Slash, adding up to the crit on Manaphy. Like if I'm able to flinch down this Vaporeon, I'm pretty sure I win this game. I'm guaranteed with Green Ninja because Flawless and Hippowdon can't take it on, and every time he goes into Hydreigon, I can get some chip, and he is kind of forced to Draco Meteor, in which case I can like just go back into my Togekiss, go for more flinches, chip down Flawless, potentially chip down Hydreigon, chip down Hippowdon, and like go from there. So very unfortunate. Can go for the Protect here, obviously, and like storm me out a little. Sorry, it's like my phone here. Fuck you. So Superior comes in here on this next wish. I can just like fire off Leech Seeds again. But like obviously Hydreigon is a pretty solid counter. I don't even know if I go for the Leaf Storm or go for the sub. I go for the sub because like right now I'm basically in fuck it mode. Sub like always has to go for the Leech Seed here. Or like just get some chip with the Leaf Storm. But I decided to go for a Leech Seed and then like pivot out to my Reuniclus. It's still possible for me to win this game, but not with a toxic Togekiss that can't beat a Vaporeon from full. So goes for the Flamethrower, doesn't do jack shit to me. Get basically all his health back with the Leech Seed. Can set up another Trick Room here as he goes into Flawless. Bad thing is like had Trick Room been up before that switch, I basically would have 2-KO'd this Flawless potentially with the Psychic, but now you can just wish stall me, obviously. Mm. Now, like if I get a special defense drop, I can still beat this Flawless 1v1, which is pretty cool. And like just spam attacks here on his wishes. I can recover up on this next time, predicting him to potentially go for the protect. He goes for the Moonblast here, which is in my opinion like a choke basically, because if I get a max roll or a crit on this Flawless, it just drops to the cycling. Then I'm free to spam Dark Pulse with Greninja, even though it wouldn't do too much to High Dragon. I can possibly like always switch out on that into Togekiss, get some chip off with Air Slash, force him to take Rocks damage and like force him to take Dark Pulse, and then I would have been in a very solid spot to win the game again. Like I just have to remove either Vaporeon or Flawless here. But he just goes for the Moonblast, which I found very surprising. But yeah, here I switch back into my Togekiss, try to softball up or try to get screens up as he goes for another Moonblast, not trying to wish up. I think he played a very risky game around this Reunitless, because once I get the special defense drop, I beat this thing 1v1, and he is forced to basically sack him on under Trick Room. I go for the light screen here to take more Moonblast, gets the crit through the light screen, Togekiss goes down to the Toxic. It's just a game, obviously. Reunitless can come back in. I like don't take anything with his range, but he gets a special attack drop, which means I need crits to beat him, not only special defense drops with his psychics, which obviously I don't get any of those in this match. Like I can't even switch out on his like Moonblast because everything would die to it. I like kind of have to try and like switch out into like Greninja on a turn he wants to go for Wish, and I can't switch out under Trick Room because then he underspeeds me. Yada yada yada. Like this game is basically lost once this game had a very I still had a very solid chance of winning this game once Manaphy went down, because with the hazards up and Togekiss flinching potentially his Walcott down, I like can easily win this game late game with Greninja. But yeah, that's not the case. I can't like just can't do anything about it. Like all this Air Slash misses, Manaphy crit through screens, special attack drops, was all adding up, and he makes a smart play, goes and sacks his opponent here, so that I go down to the sand, obviously anti-burn. No, I can just go into High Dragon. I can lift this. I can lift this Dark Pulse from the range I'm at. If he's timid, I have the roll is in my favor. If he's modest, the roll is in his favor. Seems to be modest, knocks me out, and yeah, that's game. Greninja can't win from here because like whatever I lock myself into here has a resist to it. I still can potentially dodge Dracos and flinch everything down, but yeah, that's like close to impossible. I have to lock myself into Dark Pulse here because Vaporeon is obviously around, so now I can like either go into Flawless or go into High Dragon. If I dodge this Draco twice, I can win the game, but he hits obviously, and this is gonna be GG. It is not Aki, it is RNG. GG to my boy Aaron, nothing he can do about it. He acknowledged after the game that I probably, without the crit on Manaphy, I probably win this game very handily 4-0 or 5-0. He had nothing to break my core with like Reunitless, Manaphy, Togekiss, especially with screens up. There was no way he was winning this game, which is true. Like, but obviously not his fault. He felt like kind of bad after it because like my luck was just ass. And we fall to 3-3, which is really bad because Trevor in my division, like he does really well at the moment. He's like 5-1 or 4-1. I don't know if he has played his week 6 battle yet, but it's definitely really, really unfortunate we fall to 3-3 when we at least should have been 5-1. Like I think this week and last week versus Nate, I had played the game close to flawlessly. I would say, like without trying to sound cocky or anything. I think I out-prepped both of my opponents, and I like played close to a perfect game. I didn't feel like I made any misplay in the first 40-50 turns of this match today, which is wild because like it's Mons, your mind isn't always as sharp as you like, but I feel like I played this game close to perfect and still lost because of very, very unfortunate RNG against me. It has been a theme in the NPL for me, but like it's just unfortunate to like had I been at 5-1 or even 4-2, I could have afford like just like a chill loss later in the season to maybe like not show off some sets that I would probably bring for potential playoff matches or something. But now I have to climb back up the rankings. Have to prep even better to avoid this RNG bullshit. I have to bring probably my best teams versus everyone. I have to bring my A game. I can't like take any game as lightly as I expected. Maybe and like I'm now forced to really put in the work and go on a win streak. Next week we are facing Sebast at this Montreal Montferrand, which actually will be a pretty tough game to win. I don't like my matchup too much, but obviously it's definitely winnable. I just have been Sebast the last 4 times we played, I think. Yeah, it's like obviously it's in my head, but maybe we are getting a win versus one of the better players in the league, and then go from there. Like if Trevor loses his week 6 match, he's at 4-2, and then like maybe he falls to 4-3, and I can take over the division again with a win in week 7. But obviously that's theory morning, and like it's just pretty unfortunate that I'm not at 5-1 right now. It's really like after this game, I really felt crushed, even though it was just a regular season game and shit like that. But having like 2 weeks in a row where you play absolutely perfectly, out prep your opponent, then like just get hexed out of the game is super unfortunate. Like it's like obviously it gets to me, even though like you saw me get lucky in the PMC semifinals. I won't deny that everyone gets lucky now and then, but in the NPL it just has been a theme for me to like um, get shit on by RNG. Like I feel like I should have won the season 2 title, but there got hexed out of the conference finals. I felt like I was never losing the finals to Adam, where I had the matchup and obviously like a very good game plan already. Had I not gotten like hexed there, I would have been a 2-time champion in the NPL. Last season I got hexed out of playoffs because of stupid lead sheet misses, and I was hexed like all season, where I lost 4 games that I should not have lost, or 3 games that I should not have lost, which is really unfortunate. So this season, all of my losses had some form of RNG against me, and in the game versus Strap, um, I would say that like he probably won this game fair and square, even though like I did not quit my fortress, might be a different game. And I still had a chance to win it because he was actually choking really hard at the end game. But I was choking even harder, so I couldn't capitalize. So that's like a fair loss. I can't deny that. But like this game was Aaron, and last week was Nate. Are definitely games that I guaranteed should have won. Um, like I think out of 100 times we play, I play against Aaron and Nate each. I win 95 times and probably lose 1 time because I play bad and 4 times because I get hacks or something. So that happens, but I will stop crying about hacks now. I think you all realized what I wanted to say, that I like probably had a win in the back here easily, but that's like the game we play, and I will get lucky at some point in the NPL, hopefully. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed my rant and the game. Obviously, go check out Aaron. He's a cool guy. He always gens my mons for ITL, hits me up with thumbnails if I need them and shit like that. So thank you for that, buddy. We'll play again next season, and then like hopefully go back to 5-0ing you or 6-0ing you. But GG, buddy. And like yeah, guys, I catch you actually today 8 p.m. East. My ITL Week 2 match versus Matty Brawley goes up, so definitely be hyped for that and check that out. And until then, see ya, guys.